Now, Singapore will recognise the State of Palestine when it has an effective government that accepts Israel's right to exist and renounces terrorism. Singapore will, however, reconsider its position if the situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate. Targeted sanctions for groups responsible for violence against Palestinians in the West Bank are also on the cards. Claudia Lim with more.
For decades, Gaza has been a flashpoint, a tussle between Israel and the Palestinian people that has resulted in years of bloodshed. But Singapore Foreign Affairs Minister Vivian Balakrishnan says during the recent conflict, Israel has gone too far for too long.
Israel's military operations, which have recently intensified in Gaza City, have exacerbated the prolonged, desperate suffering of innocent civilians. This is unconscionable.
In a ministerial statement in Parliament on the Gaza conflict, Dr. Balakrishnan says Singapore will recognise the State of Palestine, but only when there is an effective government that accepts Israel's right to exist and rejects terrorism. Singapore's position came after countries including the UK, Australia, Canada and Portugal announced on Sunday that they recognise a Palestinian state. Other countries, including France, are also expected to follow suit during the UN General Assembly. In addition, Dr. Balakrishnan said Singapore plans to sanction leaders of radical right-wing settler groups or organizations involved in violence against Palestinians in the West Bank.
Let me be clear. Singapore has consistently held that Israeli settlements are illegal under international law. We have voted in support of UN resolutions that reject Israeli settlement activities, and we call and have called on Israel to rescind all unilateral measures seeking to change the status of Jerusalem. We call on the Israeli government to cease settlement construction and expansion.
The current Palestinian Authority administers the occupied Palestinian territories in the West Bank, but does not control Gaza. Dr. Balakrishnan said Singapore's position has always been consistent, as reflected by its voting record at the UN. But that position could come under reconsideration if the situation at Gaza deteriorates.
We will oppose any steps by Israel to extinguish or undermine such a solution. Singapore cannot recognize any unilateral annexation of occupied territory because this would be a flagrant breach of international law. We will continue tracking developments closely. Events are unfolding quickly and remain unpredictable.
In the meantime, Singapore will step up support for Palestinians, including scholarships for students and helping to strengthen the capabilities of officials from the Palestinian Authority.
Singapore's acting minister in charge of Muslim affairs asked Singaporeans to continue rallying to help the Palestinians. Dr. Faishal Ibrahim also assured them Singapore will not be silent onlookers in the Gaza situation and will continue to extend support.
Let us continue to be guided by wisdom and compassion. We advocates and exemplars of peace, both where the conflict is happening and here at home, with our fellow Singaporeans, brothers and sisters. As the Malay saying goes, bersatu teguh, bercerai roboh, which loosely means united we stand, divided we fall.
Singapore's Foreign Affairs Minister says the country will not give Israel what he calls a free pass, despite close ties between them. Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan was responding to a question from the leader of the opposition on whether the Republic is overly invested in the Israel-Singapore relationship. 11 MPs stood to seek clarifications on Dr. Balakrishnan's ministerial statement, leading to a one-hour debate in Parliament.
Does the Minister not agree that with many of our major trade and defence partners like France, Australia, UK and our ASEAN neighbours, and the overwhelming majority of the international community of nations recognising the State of Palestine, does our foreign policy position not risk being seen as anachronistic? Shouldn't recognising the State of Palestine be in our national interests and more weight placed instead of on Israel's flagrant violations of international law and commitment to continue doing the same?
I don't think we are being anachronistic. I think we are being realistic given the circumstances in which Singapore has to operate in our part of the world. On defense, I have already said that yes, it is not a secret that they played a role in our early years, for which we are grateful. And they continue to have an invaluable role. But again, that does not mean that we are locked into giving them a free pass. I give you this assurance, we are not being held hostage. Singapore will not allow itself to be held hostage.
MPs also asked questions on proposed sanctions against groups behind the violence against Palestinians in the West Bank.
How do we expect the proposed sanctions to move the needle on peace and desired outcomes, including a two-state solution, given the very extreme views on both sides, as mentioned by Minister, including members of the Israeli government who have rejected the two-state solution, not just political activists or settlers in the West Bank, by vowing to destroy Gaza?
Will sanctions from a small city-state like Singapore move the needle on its own? No, it won't. But is it an expression of our views? It is. Will the Israelis notice it? Oh, I'm sure they will notice it. Precisely because they know that we are careful, deliberative, constructive partners who want the best for their long-term survival and for their neighbors, the Palestinians. So we should be realistic about what we say and do and the effect of what we say and do.
Dr. Balakrishnan also answered a question on Singapore's recent vote on allowing Palestine to participate in the 80th United Nations General Assembly, while still not recognizing a Palestinian state.
We voted in favor of it because we think this solution encapsulates the full width of measures needed in the long run for hopefully peace to come to this region. So hence our vote. I can assure you our votes at the UN are never performative or cynical. We do so on the basis of principle and of a careful assessment of our national interests.